Ladies and gentlemen, another season is upon us here for the Simrigs Sprint Series. It's season number 13, and we are kicking it off here at Oulton Park for 80 minutes of action ahead of us. Hello everybody, my name is Nick Amon, and I want to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. It's been a month, but it feels like it's been quite a lot longer since we've all been together in one space here, and well, I've seen AP and I've seen EU's races, and I am more than excited to see what North America has in store for us here tonight. And we have got quite the spread here of drivers here in North America. 32 drivers on the grid here tonight, not counting the safety car who hasn't even joined yet. So 33 now as Jorge Nunez joins us. But yeah, a massive split here for North America. I'm sure we would have made it too if there were a few more drivers, but best case scenario was make it one big old split, have a lot of action, a lot of variables at play here, and a lot more just competition overall. And that is what we are going with here. But yes, it's Oulton Park, a track we've seen before here in the OOR, here in the Sprint Series, here in North America, and in Europe, and in AP. So some familiar faces joining us on the calendar. And speaking of familiar faces, quite a lot of them are behind the wheels of these machines. Well, one of your most talented drivers here in North America, Renato Dornelis, makes a return for Vacuum Racing here in the Lamborghini, the Evo 2. Of course, this is on patch 1.9. So we've had a few additions to the field in terms of cars. Like I said, we had the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, the new Ferrari 296 getting thrown in there, and the new Porsche 911 GT3. I know the other Porsche was the 911 for a bit, but that's the 992 now. And well, either way, we've got all of those new cars and obviously the returning classics. But man, we've got quite a lot of Ferraris on the grid here tonight. I counted it earlier, 16 Ferraris on the attendance sheet, but I don't know if all 16 are going to be here. Got some BMWs, some Aston Martins, some Audis, Mercedes in there as well, a Lexus or two, some Hondas. Surprisingly, I know that the Honda got a little bit of a tweak in the current patch, but yeah, speaking of tweaks, like I said, the Ferrari 296 is here, and that is the overpowered car of the day. Now, I'm going to just apologize in advance because some of these liveries did not load properly. Oh, there's Jonathan Clifford getting a little bit of wheel spin out of the box. Oh, yeah, we've had some liveries not sync quite so well, so we'll have that rectified next week. Shoutouts to Glenn Germain for having a little progress text box in the livery sync tool. That was a very nice addition. I was very happy to see that. Honestly, it was kind of ridiculous. But we're getting here into qualifying, so while we have some time here as these drivers are warming up, let's take a look at the schedule. So we do have a bit of a change over everything. So if you remember last season, we had the sprint format, the super sprint format, and the mini enduro format. 60 minutes for that sprint, a 20-minute, and then a 40-minute for the super sprint, and then that hour-and-a-half race for the mini enduro. But we've got rid of those entirely, and we've labeled everything as sprint, but we've just tweaked the time and the number of pit stops actually for each race. So obviously here at Oulton Park, we're going to have it 70 minutes on the clock and 2 pit stops. So we could be seeing some staggered stints. We saw it in EU, and we'll probably see it here in NA as we have in in the AP region as well. I did catch a bit of that while I was at the gym the other day. Very fun to watch. And I realized I did 80 minutes and not 70. And then after this, we're going to head to one of my personal favorites, Watkins Glen. The only good thing to come out of New York, if I'm being honest. We've got 80 minutes over there with 0 pit stops, so it's going to be interesting to see how drivers manage that, especially as those tires wear down later and later on in the race. Then we head over to Japan for Suzuka, a one-stopper, 60 minutes, so sort of your standard sprint race as we've got drivers queuing up to start their flying laps. And then, for the 4th race of the season, we're going to be going to Valencia, the newest circuit here in ACC, and that's actually going to be a very interesting race. So it will be a 60-minute one-stop, but it is going to be a spec race in the BMW M2s. So for some of these drivers, it's going to be a new experience. For others, maybe they've had some time to drive the M2, but that will be something we'll have to wait and see the results of later on in the season, just to shake things up a little bit. After that, we are heading to another track of mine, all-time top 3, Mount Panorama. 0 stops, 80 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean drivers can't go into the pit lane. They're more than welcome to. It's just going to be, well, who's brave enough to stay out the longest? And at a circuit like that, it's very, very easy to completely throw your race. You just hit one little wall, and that's it. You're a ping pong ball bouncing around, and your car is going to possibly end up looking like one in the same relative shape. After that, we head over to Zandvoort, a 1-stopper, 60-minute race, and then we round things out at the Nürburgring, 2 stops, 70 minutes. So same format as we have here at Oulton Park. This is going to be running from May 11th to June 22nd, 7 straight weeks, no bye weeks at all. So these drivers are going to be hitting the ground running. No chance to really breathe outside of the time in between races. But outside of those changes, those point distributions have stayed the same. 150 for first place, a few extra points, those 3 extra points if you get pole position, and then, or no, sorry, three points for fastest lap, and then quali, those top 5 drivers will get points. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Looking at the categories, Lovebrink, Pierce, and Flomger, your top 3 drivers overall, and also top 3 in Pro have made a return. So we're going to see how things sort of pan out this time. Lovebrink, of course, having to defend the crown here this season. Dornelis, a driver who I was surprised to not see fighting for that top spot, but a new season awaits him. For the Pro-Am categories, Brown has returned to defend this crown, and a bunch of other drivers from the Pro-Am category. Chris Frizza as well joining us. Kevin Parody, another one. And I do believe there was Jonathan Clifford I saw earlier, unless he got moved up. Oh, he got moved up into Pro. I knew it. I knew he was going to be in Pro this season. And then William No has not come back, so that leaves the Amateur Championship wide open for someone else to take. Rob Jacques, a new driver here in the Sprint Series, perfect timing on that front, in the 213 Porsche for Farmers Union Nice Coffee. And then I believe, yep, Quackenbush, one of the greatest last names I think I've ever seen for Keck Racing, definitely a Keck W. In the 296 though, welcoming in to the broadcast, Sanders, of course. No McLarens, it looks like. Yeah, there's not a single one. I mean, after the season they've had so far in F1, you want to distance yourself. Kind of upset. And then Cody as well. Good to see you. Again, my favorite person is here. Oh my god, Charles, where are you? I knew you were in chat somewhere. Or maybe it's Simon. But no, as we get through qualifying, it's Landry at the top. Not an unfamiliar name that we do see topping the timing sheets here in qualifying. Eduardo Sanchez has switched things up a bit. He was in the Weeb Machine McLaren last season, has decided he wants to bump up the power a little bit. It's going with the Mercedes. Fazli Majid from Singapore joins us, so an AP driver has decided to cross the waters into North America. Always great to see some new faces here in the NAOR scene in that Huracan Evo. Thomas Pierce also finding his way into that top 5 with the Mercedes. We didn't see a lot of Mercedes in the top 5 positions in EU. And then Jonathan Clifford, of course, rounding us out in his Lamborghini. He drives nothing but that. I'll see his streams pop up on YouTube occasionally, and he's still driving that Lamborghini, so I'm sure when he saw the Huracan get a new addition, he must have been very happy about that. Keith Briscoe right now, P14 at the moment, a 34.15 for him, and just ahead is the Lexus of Brian Rasco, just a couple of seconds off the pace there. As Andy Meyer, another name that we've seen here in Sprint, but haven't seen recently, from Germany, has second place, just a little under 2 tenths behind Dornelis, who has decided to put in a very good lap. So he's going to try to make up for lost pace from last season, as he wants to hold that crown once again. Ben Keogh joins us as well, currently sitting in 9th position. A 33.53 is his best. Kenneth Portis for Roto Grip Racing in number 10, the 84 Honda. It's going to be interesting to see how he sort of copes with the Honda. It did get a bit of a nerf in the recent patch, actually. Drivers are allowed 1 car change for the season, so if it doesn't work out, he might decide to switch gears and go to something else. Javier Marquez, P12, has made a couple of adjustments for the Colombian as he heads back out for another couple of flying laps here. Still 7.5 minutes to go. Austin Carpenter, another familiar face here, Alpha Sim Sport. And again, these liveries do not look the way they should. The sync tool had a bit of a fit between me downloading and me being right now. So he's out there trying to set another lap. Michael Formato, a formidable opponent we have seen before in the BMW for Resident Longboy Racing. And then Hunter Page, a driver I have a lot of history with in the Boatley. For anyone that knows about the Boatley and the Boatley Space Program, then Hunter Page is a very familiar name. Shoutouts to you. Good to see you back as always. Thomas Dagg as well, returning racer from Canada. Should be interesting to see how he plays everything. Andrew Wilson as well, another returning face. Timothy Flomger, classic OOR personality here. Keith Briscoe, we talked about earlier. Brandon Wallet. Had some trouble with his last name the first go-around, but eventually I figured it out. Followed by Austin Carpenter. Wilson Fernandez for Vacuum Racing as well. Him and Dornelis were teammates last season, both in the Mercedes, and it looks like both of them have switched to Italian manufacturers. Renato in Lamborghini and Fernandez in Ferrari. We'll see how that plays out. Cody Platt, another familiar name here in North America. The number 22 car is currently sitting position 22, so that's just convenient for him. Kevin Parody. Oh, Kevin, what is there to say about you? Commentator here for the OR, owner of one of the worst liveries I have ever seen on the BMW. Not last season, but the season before that. But he's decided to switch gears as he cuts way across and tags the 883 Aston Martin there of Austin Carpenter. So I'm sure that was not intended. Just a little bit of ambition on the outside of the corner. It's going to cause a few issues. Rob Jacques, again, new driver here. Brian Rasco there in the Lexus, down in P27 at the moment. Dave Hasser for Kraft Dinner Racing. I'm wondering if he's running the same sort of livery as he did last time with the BMW. If it is, Dave, sorry it's not loading. You know how things are. Jorge Nunez, also probably in a car that needs a little bit of paint on it. P29, but definitely could be picking up some pace later on. Benjamin Habe, another such driver we've seen a lot of here in North America. Chris Frizza. DeMarcus Rogers, a debutant here in the Sprint Series in Pro Class, so he has definitely been impressive before the season started while these drivers were kind of getting warmed up and doing their classifications. So going to keep an eye on him, though. P28 right now for the 47. Chris Frizza we talked about earlier. I know exactly which livery that's supposed to be. Unfortunately, it's gone through a blender. 32 for him. Dylan Kaiser, he's a driver we've seen before. Back in the Audi. Looking to see if maybe he can find some extra pace there. And then, of course, Andrew Quackenbush that we talked about earlier. Yet to set a time, but still has about 4.5 minutes to go. But currently, it is Landry up at the top with a 32.65. That is quite a loads better than Dornelis's 32.86. And then there's Majid there, 32.96, and then Pierce is the first driver to be in the 33s. Just a little over a tenth beyond that mark, so he's going to be looking to push it just a little bit more. Nobody currently on a flying lap, and actually, as I say that, Wilson Fernandez, excuse you, autopilot, thank you. Forgot I had that on. Yeah, Wilson Fernandez right now with about 0.6 up on himself as he heads towards, well, the penultimate corner of the track. Here at Oulton Park, though, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of undulations and change. Some cars responding to it a bit better than others. And we saw it with Kevin Parody getting a little out of shape there into that first corner, just how much that can sort of wreck your race. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Fernandez has just about a second over himself as he crosses the line up to P14. A huge improvement for him. Timothy Flomger, another driver. God, that Porsche just sounds amazing. Some of these new cars just sound absolutely incredible. And by some, of course, I mean all of them. Porsche sounds very angry. 22nd right now for the number 19. Crosses the line to P6. Pushes Brooke, Thompson, Sanchez, and Salomon down. Salomon, another driver I completely glossed over, making a return here in the Sprint Series from Poland in the Lamborghini. So we have a pretty good I would say a good split of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and the occasional Porsche thrown in there, but the general consensus in the community, and of course if lap times are anything to go off of across anything, is that the Ferrari is the way to go. That's going to be the car you want to be in if you want to win your races. We saw it, of course, with the Honda. I would say that's true, but then again, I cannot win a race. But that's besides the point. Let's look at Austin Carpenter as he's got a flying lap put together pretty well. 21st for the 883 Aston Martin. Just lost a couple of tenths there through the final corner, so we'll see how much further he gets pushed up as he crosses the line. It's only 21st from him. Welcoming in Ryan Luke as well to the broadcast. Let's go Quackenbush, moved up from rookies after the first race. Well, that's certainly a statement. We've seen it before. We've seen drivers just pop in immediately in the next race who had one race in sprint, and then they said, all right, get out, you're too good. I know when I did it, I had one of my teammates just pop in, and I just had to ask. I said, where did you come from? And he goes, oh, I was in rookies, but I won a race by like a full minute, and they told me to leave and come up to sprint because I was clearly ready. And Jean-Luc Marchand, whoa, big slide there for the Mercedes. Does pip it up a little bit into 23rd. But has to abort the lap. Minute 20 to go, and that should be the end of qualifying for him by the time he gets back to the start-finish line. That's going to be it. So 23rd for the number 15. We look around to see who else is on a flying lap, at least close to the finish line. Ben Keogh, of course, 2 tenths up currently. This could push him into the top 5 if he gets the rest of this lap put together. He does drop a tenth, though. Ryan Luke confirming that he wanted more competition than rookies, and I can confirm that if you want more competition, got to come to sprint. Cross the line, Keogh goes up into 8th. This is going to be his last attempt, though, to try and push that car a little bit higher. Dave Hasser with about a second up as he crosses the line, only enough for 25th. So that just goes to show you how much pace there is across all of these drivers. DeMarcus Rogers, debutant in the Sprint Series, out of the final corner in a unfortunate P30, but across the line could jump up a lot, and that's up to 24th. Does have an extra lap to work with, so it looks like we should be getting the checkered flag out very soon. In fact, probably about the next 5 seconds. So we'll see who else is on an improvement. Keith Briscoe, just a tenth to his name at the moment. Could push him maybe a little higher than 17th around Hunter Page. It actually does. Beats Page out by about 0.05 of a second. So that's good news for him. Try to start up as high as humanly possible. Hunter Page strikes back, though, into P14 with a 33.38 right at the end. That is exactly what you're looking for. And Chris Frizza goes from up to 24, so not a huge improvement for him. Kenneth Portis as well, down in P17. Crossing the line, pips it into the top 10. But how long is that going to hold for as Simon Salomon comes across and he pushes Portis out of the top 10 with a 33.17 of his own. So that gives the pole gives him 9th. Not quite 19th, but 9th is a great starting position. Brian Rasco is about even. So you see Clifford go into the pits, and Rasco, that's it for him. He cannot improve anymore. We have Renato Jornelis into the pits. He is not going to be able to improve. Andy Myers running about even with himself. So we'll see if there's maybe an extra 10th or so that's grabbed right at the end. He's got a 33.14, but 6th place is where he's going to end up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to, well, cut it all off for the first round of qualifying. It's Landry, Dornelis, Majid, Flomger, Pierce, Meyer, Fernandez, Keogh. Your top 8, so a pretty solid split there. And we're going to do one of my favorite things, and that, of course, if you've been here before, is the grid walk. It's going to be a little bit awkward, of course, with, well, the lack of liveries, but it doesn't mean we still can't do it. So we'll start the grid walk. Of course, already mentioned the top 8 drivers here for this first race. It's going to be quite the battle there as these guys all vie for position earlier on in this race. And you can see just how deep this queue goes. 34 drivers here tonight. We'll see if we end up with all 34 at the end. We had some drivers leave in EU, and I'm sure in AP as well. But we'll see how well North America can do. As I said earlier, of course, the top 8 already read out. So let's go from 8th on the grid and start moving back from there. So in P number 9 is Solomon from Europe, making a very good showing for himself. And fellow European Tim Brook joins him on that 5th row to round out the top 10. It's Kenneth Portis just missing out, though, on that top 10 start. Very unlike him, but surely he can make up positions as this race carries on. It will be the Lamborghini of Thompson to keep him company right there. It's Eduardo Sanchez and Javier Marquez, two of the Latin American drivers, sharing row number 7. Hunter Page has the Lamborghini of Jonathan Clifford there on the 15th and 16th positions. Always fun to see two similar manufacturers in the same grid slots. Michael Formato and Keith Briscoe, 17th and 18th. These larger grids moving some of the more established guys down a few pegs. Brandon Wallet, Thomas Degg, Austin Carpenter, Andrew Wilson. That's 19th through 22nd. Or sorry, 20th through 22nd. And then it's Marshawn Frizza, 23-24. Rogers making his Sprint Series debut here at Oulton Park, and he's going to be starting from 25th on the grid. 26 belongs to Dave Hasser. It's Kevin Parody and Cody Platt, the two Ferrari drivers, 27th and 28th. Rob Jacques makes it 29th. Rasco rounds out that top 30, and then it's in the Lexus. And then in the Porsche, it's Jorge Nunez with the Audi of Dylan Kaiser to keep him company there. And then Benjamin Habe is 33rd. And Andrew Quackenbush not setting a time, so he'll be starting from the back of the grid here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick shout out, of course, to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 13 of the Sprint Series. This sim racing supplier out of Melbourne, Australia, servicing that big, beautiful continent, along with New Zealand as well. And if you happen to be like me and you maybe live beyond the shores of those great nations, well, if you send them an email, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And if you're an OR Patreon member, of course, you get 5% off your in-store purchases, so make sure you use that discount. Sim racing equipment, not cheap by any means. So again, thank you once more to Simrigs for sponsoring this season of the Sprint Series. Looks like we've had a bit of a reset on the timing for the start, but no big deal. We'll just sit here and wait for things to kick off. 70 minutes, though. I'm both nervous and excited to see how drivers handle these sort of extended formats as we head later and later on in the season again, especially with Mount Panorama coming up. But I think overall we have a pretty solid few tracks on the calendar. And like I said, 7 straight weeks, no bye weeks. We're getting over mid-June, and then if I had to bet on it, probably back mid-August. So just in time for school. But it will be Landry who's going to start drawing first blood with the 3 points with 5 points for pole position. Dornelis gets 4, Majid gets 3, it's Flonger with 2, and Pierce with 1. So your top 5 already starting off with some points in the bag. And I can't tell if we just had another reset on the time. We'll see if there's some talk in the Discord. Obviously, I don't know what's being said in the voice comms, so I kind of bank on the text channels to keep me in line. The last thing we saw was earlier when the server sort of reset itself. And speaking of resetting it, the session start timer goes back up to 2 minutes 50. So I'm wondering if there's some technical issues on the back end there, because we've passed a few minutes already. Hopefully it's the last reset. Haven't seen anything in the chat just yet from the drivers, but we'll see if no, looks like nothing yet. Drivers just discussing other things. But I'm very excited to see how this race pans out, especially with Landry and Dornelis on the front row, two drivers who I don't want to say came to blows, but definitely gave each other a run for their money. Hunter Page, we vibing at the moment. Well, we're vibing here in the broadcast, here in the booth, and by we, I mean myself and all of you guys. Rob Jacques, they're sorting a driver's access to the voice channel. Ah, interesting. So, probably permissions. Quackenbush in the Discord saying, am I okay to still race? I'll be a good boy. He's raced IRL, so he knows what he's doing, but yeah. Obviously, these drivers do need certain roles to access channels like any other Discord. So, talking in the voice chat is actually kind of crucial, and I think we should talk about that while we have the time. So, for those of you that haven't raced in the Sprint Series, when it comes to your races, you are required to join a voice channel strictly for your split. And this, you might ask why that is it because I can throw shade at other drivers? No, it's because if there's an incident on track, drivers are able to call out their number, and that will get pushed over to the stewards. They'll take a look at it and see if there needs to be a penalty. And if someone's not in chat, that's going to be a bit of an issue. So hopefully that gets resolved soon. The clock has ticked more than it did before. We're at 1 minute 37. And there hasn't been a reset, so it looks like things have been good to go. So the vibes are going to be snuffed out in a bit. Of course, another minute before drivers can actually hit the drive button. And if drivers don't decide to do that, well, they're going to be starting from the pit lane, which is sort of the last thing you want to do in your first race of the season. And with a new season and new drivers, not as many as we saw in EU, but with new drivers, new season, these first races always a little bit shaky in terms of just making sure everyone's in the right starting position when things go live. We saw in EU, if I actually take a look at the, start, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 people who were out of position at the start of a race, and then 2 that jumped it. So we're going to be keeping an eye on the numbers, see if anyone else does anything else. And of course, one thing we should probably mention is a new sort of thing we're doing here in the Sprint Series. We have some awards that we do get to give out after a round. If I can find it. It should be down here somewhere. Oh yes, we have awards that we give out. Driver of the Day, of course. If you watched F1, you know exactly what that is. The Sportsmanship Award for a driver who's demonstrated clean and fair racing throughout the round. So that'll be something for the drivers to go for, and I believe yours as well. Could be wrong. And then Best of the Rest, anyone outside of the top 10 who was impressive. And then Best Livery, which I unfortunately can't really vote on because I can't see all the liveries. But the drivers pulling away. Landry acts as the safety car. I know the safety car normally is the Boatley, but I guess Audi has taken up those reins. And then not only do we have those awards, we also have Move of the Week being a new channel where drivers can submit entries of themselves or another car of things like overtakes or saves or just really good battling and fair racing. It's also, if we get enough of them, showcase them each week on the following broadcast. So hopefully get those together because I feel like that would be pretty cool to see. But what is cool to see is all these cars just trundling on through Oulton Park's first few sets of corners. Of course, drivers have the chance to warm up the tires. You see a few of them wiggling side to side. Going to be testing brakes as well. But Landry going to be starting on pole and leading the pack. Of course, we do rolling starts here. So at a certain point, the race director is going to call out for these drivers to line up 2 by 2. And when that happens, well, that means one thing. That means green flags soon enough. But taking a look at the track map here, you can see just how tight this track is. I know it's a huge space in the middle, but, well, realistically, this track not very wide. Even in a GT3 car, you feel like you're going to just spill over the edges. So it's going to be difficult side by side, especially with all the bumps that could unsettle the car. And even through the chicanes here, it's important to just know when to back out, when to let the other guy go, and try to avoid a penalty. Of course, the tire barriers there, we should be seeing those getting punted into orbit soon enough, but we're getting towards the end of Sector 2 and should be heading into Sector 3 And I believe at that point, yep, we are already 2 by 2 on the track. So it's going to get a little bit crazy here in North America. The last race of the evening, of course, before we get ready to pack our bags, hop on the plane, and get over to New York for round number 2 next week, May 18th. Same time, same place, don't you worry, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, or your time zone's equivalent, whatever that may be. Let's kill the music as we take a nice stroll here through the forests of England. No rain on the radar. It was raining in Asia Pacific. It didn't rain in EU, and it's not raining in North America. You'd think with the world's weather moving west to east, they would be able to have some variance, but ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It's side by side as we head up towards the start-finish line. It's Landry on pole with Dornelis keeping him company. 2 heavy-hitting drivers there up at the front. Majid, Flomger, Pierce, and it's green, green, green here at Oulton Park. It's a great launch there from Landry as Dornelis gets an equally good exit, or equally good start as well. There's Majid jumping into the corner and already has spun himself. Dornelis is off the track. Everybody jostling for position now, trying to dodge these drivers who are all over the place. Tim Brook finds himself alongside one of the Lamborghinis there in the background, almost 3 wide, I think, for some of these drivers. There's Keith Briscoe getting around Formato there right now for P13. And we look towards the back. Cody Platt door to door already here as we head into the left-hander. It's very crucial you get this right. Kind of tricky to get this corner, but it seems to have been easy work for Cody Platt on the inside. Should be picking up a position here. Drivers having to slam on the brakes. You can see the banking in the corner, making things a little bit quicker. But for Landry, he is absolutely bolted from the start. Dornelis getting swallowed up by the pack. In fact, his teammate Fernandez from last season is in front of him right now as he pulls to the outside into the chicane, but has to duck back in. Everyone else lining up single file, waiting for their turn to go through the chicane. Here's Kenneth Portis right now in the top 10 for Honda as he gets on the power out of the corner, as he's got Sanchez, who gets a little bit loose and manages to correct that bit of oversteer, keeps the Mercedes going in the right direction. You can still see drivers pouring out of that chicane, but outside of the bit of an unfortunate start there for a couple of those, for Majid and for Dornelis, it's actually been a pretty good start overall for everybody else. And as this race gets underway, 2 mandatory pit stops loom over the drivers' heads, of course. And that pit window should be opening up the next couple of minutes. Just behind, we do see Javier Marquez, if memory serves, making a bit of a move. Or actually, sorry, getting overtaken there by the Ferrari. Or it's Thompson getting overdone by Marquez, who gets loose. That also invites Hunter Page into the picture. Dives down the inside. Picks up another position there, overtaking another Lamborghini. We've got 3 of them lined up right now. Page, Thompson, Clifford. And then behind it's Briscoe in the Ferrari, kind of on his own right now. He's got some distance to Formato, who's got Wallet sort of breathing down his neck, but backs out surprisingly through the left-hander. Some of these cars able to take that turn a little bit better. Through the banking we go. You can see just how sick this looks side by side there in the background. It's the Mercedes of Marchand starting to get a bit of a move done. And it looks like he might have. I don't know. It looked really close. Brandon Wallet still giving Formato a bit of trouble for his position. Has to go defensive, the BMW, but is able to just slot back into place. The tire bundle has been moved. So somebody has not punted it, but has instead just moved it inside a little bit more. Just keep it nice and safe. Hop back up front. Here's Thomas Pierce in P3. You can see the gap he has right now to catch up over Flomger. And then, well, there's Dornelis, or sorry, not Dornelis, Landry. Won't even talk about that, but Dornelis is currently in the picture, sitting behind Fernandez. Some of these drivers really getting that last corner a bit wrong, but there's a fair bit of runoff. These drivers have to work with Fernandez a huge bit of speed there with the slipstream. Has to just back out a little bit. But carries back on like nothing at all happened. Let's jump towards the back a little bit. Jorge Nunez with Brian Rasco. The battle for position number 30 as the Lexus goes down the inside and Nunez just has to step out of the way and let it go. Rasco, neat little move there to recover positions, try to gain back what he can. Let's ride on board here. Ben Keogh in the number 33. Aston Martin just up ahead. is Andy Meyer in the Porsche behind. Salomon in the Lamborghini. Porquillo, the only British manufacturer in the top 10. Everybody else, it's either German or Italian or Japanese, if you happen to be like Portis and driving the Honda. But again, we talked about it earlier, the Honda not as potent as it was in the previous patch. 1.9 sort of brought it back into the pack a little bit. There's been some changes as well to the tires. One of the big things that these drivers are going to have to look out for is getting a little too ambitious over some of these bumps, as it could possibly get you some lost pressure, even punctures. Players have been reporting that if they get a little too much onto the curbs. We got to give Andy Meyer some screen time just because of the Porsche. Beautiful sounding machine. And a pretty sweet display there on the dashboard. Here's Dornelis up ahead. And Jonathan Clifford does go down the or does have to do defend a little bit from Wallet. And there's some damage actually on Sanchez's car. You can see the front end, that hood popped a little bit. The front bumper scraped up, so must have gone into the back of somebody at some point. But doesn't seem to be affecting the car's performance all that much. A huge train of cars here. So we head down towards the long right-hander with the banking. Ooh, Carpenter thought about something on the inside, but was not really close enough to take advantage of that. Wilson Fernandez again with Dornelis behind. We have a yellow flag. The 74 is off, along with the number 6. We'll see if we can roll this one back. I'm not quite certain what happened here. So we're going through. Oh, someone just gets wide. So Hunter Page gets wide, and then the 76 or 74 of Frizza. So looks like that left-hander claiming a couple more victims. We saw it in AP, and we'll see, or an EU rather, and probably an AP. I didn't watch all of it, of course, but I watched enough of it. But yeah, that left-hander is a little deceptive. You think you have more room to work with, but then you saw what happened. You just run wide. You're off in the grass, and well, ideally you keep it off the wall. And Marchand, geez, another bit of oversteer there on the tail end of that Mercedes. So a couple of these Mercedes drivers struggling through that final corner. There's Majid also trying to recover what he can. He started up in the top 5, but fell all the way down here of 22nd after, I believe, a little bit of self-inflicted shenanigans. So 22nd is a long way from home. No tornadoes moving him around, but, well, the spinning he did, it might have seemed like one. Wilson Fernandez still very much in 4th position. Landry, 5.2 seconds already. This race just started. We did not see a gap this large in EU at this point in the race. It took a little bit longer, but for Landry, this is the benefit for him from starting on pole. Just doesn't have to worry about anybody's anything. Let's go with, let's just go with Wilson Fernandez, of course. Trying to hunt down Pierce in the Mercedes, doing a very good job of it in the top 3. But of course, there's still 62 minutes left on the clock. Plenty of time. Oh, and there's the touch there. Fernandez into the back of Pierce, who does go around, and that is absolutely going to be drawing the ire of the stewards. So for Fernandez, he's just waiting for the inevitable. And that's if it even comes. In the background, Meyer does lose the tail end of the Porsche a little bit. It's actually Pierce into the pit lane, surprisingly. Maybe did pick up some damage. So he's got some work to do here. Not the way you want to start your season, but unfortunately that's just how it's going to be. Checking in Austin Carpenter in 17th right now. There's a lot of training at the moment here in this early stage of the race. Javier Marquez in the top, or almost into that top 10. Andy Meyer, look at the pack that he's got to work with right now. You've got Dornelis up ahead in P number 4. You've got Keo behind in 6th, and Salomon and Brooke as well, 7th and 8th. So this battle pack could be forming up as this race goes on. Split times, or sorry, not split times, but lap times are within a couple of tenths of each other. So the question is, do these gaps come down as this race carries on? Keo certainly hoping that it does, as he doesn't get the best exit out of the corner. Of course, Aston Martin, some problems of its own. That turbo lag, one of them. You get low enough down in the gears, in the revs. But still a very just solid car overall if you're looking to kind of learn. Dylan Kaiser right now with Brian Rasco on the inside through the final corner. And then up and over down the hill, and then back up the hill we go, still side by side as we head over the timing line once more here at Oulton Park. But it is Rasco that does get the better exit. Kaiser not letting up on the pressure though. A little bit of a tap on the side there, but does just have to let the Lexus go. So for Rasco, it's a solid move, solid overtake, and he will continue on his campaign to gain more positions. Javier Marquez, despite his best efforts, has not managed to get Briscoe off his tail. He's fishing for positions, but the problem is it looks like some other fish might have caught the hook a little bit. And speaking of catching something, he's caught the inside of the curb. That unsettles the Ferrari and does give Briscoe a bit of a run here into the second chicane. Later on the brakes, there's a tap there onto Marquez, but it just pushes him right on through. Nothing wrong there. Wasn't spun out, wasn't removed from the race. And that actually opens the gap back up as Briscoe sort of stood on the brakes there. Hopefully doesn't draw any attention from the stewards. Of course, these drivers are very good at knowing when to call in a number. A little tap there isn't going to do much of anything. And especially, I would say, a bit of a bump draft like that. Not that that was, you know, the plan. But, you know, it was a little bit of a bump draft, not NASCAR. But, I mean, we can always pretend, right? Michael Formato here, position 14 with Wallet in tow. And then behind them is Sanchez and Carpenter as well. Majid making up some time here, up into P19 already, and actually looking for 18th as well. Thomas Dagg looking like a pretty good treat for him, I believe this morning in Singapore. Always nice to see drivers from outside the NA regions. Of course, you'd want to see them maybe... If you're Majid, maybe he doesn't have the time to race in the usual AP races, but does have time for NA, so for him, that's good news. Always able to have more wheels on track as he's very late on the brakes, completely overcooks it, and looks to maybe lose a position to Wilson. No. Actually manages to stay in position 19. That work that was done to catch up to the Ferrari of Dagg, and as he goes over, that does invite Wilson into the picture. And Majid loses that position. Wilson will say thank you very much. Moves up into position 19. So the Lamborghini driver, the work he did just washed away just like that. We had a drive-through penalty come in for Dylan Kaiser, who has retired his car from this session. Unfortunate to see, but that's just how it's going to go. Oh no, it's Sanchez actually that has the drive-through, excuse me. So Sanchez has a couple of laps, 3 to be exact, to oh no, the touch there on Carpenter unsettles both, but they managed to keep going as there's the Ferrari behind of Dagg, who sort of, I don't know if Sanchez wanted to go into the pits, but it completely blocked him from doing so if that was his intentions. So we'll have to go back around again, 3 laps to clear a drive-through or stop go 30. If you don't, you will be disqualified. But for Sanchez, I'm sure he'll be able to well, keep things going for just another lap or two. Andy Meyer, still 5th place, hasn't been able to get rid of Keo. 33.58 for him, a 33.22 for Keo. It's one thing to catch up, it's another thing to get around, as many drivers have said before, and will continue to say for all of time. Majid's in the pits, though. Maybe clearing that first stop, trying the mother of all undercuts. As a reminder, he did start in that top 5, so he does have points to his name already. But now he is on the recovery. Oh, and you can see the exit that Keogh gets out of the corner already, just sitting under the rear wing of Meyer, but isn't able to make a move stick. Does have a bit of a slipstream, pulls out of it though, and is immediately met with a wall of air that's going to slow down his Aston Martin. Andy Meyer managing his Porsche quite well. Same with the Lamborghini of Salomon and the BMW of Brook. As these guys start lap number 9, another yellow flag comes out. Not quite certain who that's for. We do see the black flag for Thomas Pierce. That is very surprising. I'm wondering what happened there. The disqualification, I'm not sure what that is. I don't think he had the drive-through. And if he did, it would have been extremely early to call that a disqualification. So maybe discussing it with the stewards right now. Eduardo Sanchez does get that drive-through cleared. And back out right behind the Lexus there of Rasco. And Hunter Page into the pits. Wondering if this is for damage and or tires. Very early time to actually pit in this race. Still 55 minutes to go. And still 2 pit stops left to do. I'm looking through right now. I don't see Majid, so I think his night is over with. Looks like it's unfortunate. Had a great starting position, but well, that's where that chapter ends for him. Gonna get ready for Watkins Glen next week. Andy Meyer's starting to lose a bit of ground right now to Keogh. Meyer's lap was a 10th faster, and he is just using every little bit of road he can to try and carry as much speed as possible through these corners. A 33.9 for him and a 33.85 for Keogh, a couple of hundredths. And we look at 33.76 for Salomon, a 33.66 for Brooks. So these 4 drivers should be coming together very soon, actually. These gaps, a couple of tenths. So within a few laps, yeah, we should be seeing, well, some of these guys really getting under each other's skin. Let's Brooke a little bit of a drift there, the 404 BMW. Doing some work. Javier Marquez has lost a bunch of time. I'm wondering if he went off. I want to roll this. Oh, he did lose. He did go off. Does hit the wall. What happened there? It was a little bit farther back than, well, I unfortunately clicked. I meant to hit 20. I hit the 15. Completely missed. But it looks, if I had to maybe take a guess, I'd say he got a little bit loose out of that second corner. Maybe a bit of understeer, went wide, slammed the wall, and he is moving very slowly right now. Compared to the competition, I want to actually, yeah, you can see the front end. There's damage. The steering looks fine. Maybe a little bit of drifting to the right. Yeah, just a little bit, it looks like. So there's definitely, you saw I did clatter the right side of the car, so that is most likely going to be into the pits. Oh, he's just got no grip on it. That Ferrari, that horse is hurting. Need to get it to a doctor ASAP if he wants to pick up more points in this race, but that is going to be a huge kick in the head for him. As yeah, you can see how much that damage actually set him back. I'm almost certain he'll be diving into the pit lanes here, not only for tires but also for damage. Yeah, that right side's banged up. Left side looks beautiful. But yeah, he pulls over to the right. Got to make sure you get your braking just right here at Oulton Park. Of course, always necessity in my eyes to practice your pit entries and just your pit stops in general. And you also have to be careful with the entrance here. You can see it just a little bit, that gray wall on the right side. Easy to hit that and just pick up a penalty, and same with the lines. That is on the right side of the pit entry. But navigated fairly well from Marquez, so we'll see him back out on track in a little bit of time if I had to bet on it. Michael Formato in P12 at the moment. You see the 2 Lamborghinis up ahead, just sort of doing their own thing. Clifford, man, getting really out of shape there, and I believe that's actually Hunter Page, so that is a backmarker driver. Yeah, the number 6 of Page, so not even a position that can be gained. Should Formato catch up. Things really have settled. Solomon, though, is giving us a bit of action here. Ben Keogh's finally caught up after the last few laps, sitting behind, but as he gets close to make a move, he just has to back out. The start-finish straight, not long enough for him to really utilize that slipstream. And for him, that's that. Brian Rasco starting to feel the heat from Frizza. Slowly been reeling him in. Last lap here for the Lexus, a 35.28. For the Ferrari behind, it was a 34.67. A huge bit of time being taken out of the 135. Andy Meyer into the pit lane for his first pit stop of the evening. As we head on to the front straight, we're right on board here with Chris Frizza. You'd think he'd be close enough to take advantage of the slipstream, and he is close enough for it, but just not giving him as much of a boost as he would like. So for now, he stays in position 23. So head down. And you can see just from this point of view how much the cars are bouncing, how many bumps there are in the road. Even on a section that looks relatively flat, it's not like that. And through this left-hander especially, there's some rocking side to side for these cars. And right up the back there for Frizza. But doesn't make contact, thankfully, so we'll leave these two guys, see if there's any more developments later on in the race. We'll see if there's someone else we can bug on track. Jacques is in the pit lane for his first pit stop. So that's a big plus for him. And that is the car getting off the jacks and rolling on out. So one more pit stop. Javier Marquez as well is back out on track. That damage has been fixed and also cleared one of those pit stops away. Give himself just one less to deal with later on. So for right now, you have 6 drivers who have already gotten a pit stop out of the way. Everyone else, though, still has 2. We just passed under 50 minutes in this race. Sun is still shining. Not a drop of rain on the radar. So things will get shuffled around a little bit. Ben Keogh looks like has gotten around Solomon in the meantime. And does get into that top 5. That gives Brooke a chance to maybe catch up with the pace he's had over these last few laps. Andy Meyer as well, but that is Michael Landry. Landry has just absolutely blown this wide open, and he immediately goes into the pit lane. Oh, I don't know if that was slow enough. It might have been. But yeah, Landry just turns on the jets, completely skips town, and good luck chasing him. No paper trail, no GPS, no nothing to track him down. You got to use, well, I would say the footprints and whatnot he leaves behind, but you have a better chance of, I don't know, getting struck by lightning 13 times in a row and catching up with him. Quackenbush decides to take a little bit of a bread break there. Go into the pit lane. Same with Formato and Wallet. Oh, and we've got a Porsche off on the side. Who is that? It's the 47 of Rogers, who has left. Let's see if we can maybe catch it. Oh, so he's already parked up on the side. I don't know if he hit something or what the case may be, but that is over and out for the 47. His race is done. So I don't know if he hit the wall or something came up. Maybe a technical issue, maybe a equipment issue, who knows. It's an unfortunate end to the night for him, but there's always next week. Hasser's in the pits, Sanchez in the pits. You can see the damage there on the front end of his Mercedes, so he's going to be getting that sorted out. Frizza in the pit lane as well, and Quackenbush in a beautiful looking livery there. Still getting his pit stop sorted out. And Flomger into the pit lane here. So your front runner's starting to get a fresh set on. Dornelis is in the lead for the time being with the fastest lap as well. A 32.75 is the time to beat Nobody is really close to that. The closest person is actually Wilson Fernandez, who has gone into the pit, but his best is a 33.13. So 4/10, and that's one of the things I really just I'm mesmerized by when it comes to Dornelis, is the lap times that this man puts in race after race, week after week, season after season. Even in practice, even in qualifying, even during the race itself, he puts in absolutely monstrous laps. Maybe not what we see with the AP racers, but it's still something that you just look at and you go, man, this guy is something else entirely. And he continues that trend here in Season 13. Fernandez picks up a stop-go 30, possibly for speeding in the pit lanes. That'll get changed over to a time penalty, which will get added on to his second pit stop. This is Tim Brook having to give way for the 23 there. The 23 Ferrari, can't quite see who that is. Might actually be a bit of position. It is. Hold on, that's Kevin Parody who got the move done. I completely didn't realize what his number was. Tim Brook is well having Solomon behind, so this is actually a fight for position. I apologize. But yeah, Kevin Parody gets the move done. Platt picks up a drive-through. Most likely for track limits. Some parts of Oulton Park, very easy to go wide and pick up an infraction. We've got Ben Keogh into the pit lane, Kenneth Portis, Braden Thompson, and Jonathan Clifford as well, getting those first stops out of the way. And in the background as well, that is Andrew Wilson, who decides now is the time to go in. Marchand stays out. Landry, of course, already serving that first pit stop. Brian Rasco, another driver we've not seen into the pit lane, just on his own right now. But behind him is the action pack right now of Parody, Brook, and Solomon. As Brook gets a little bit squirrely there, does lose some time. That does give the Lamborghini a chance to push up. Parody is going to be going into the pit lane. So I'll pull over again to the right. That'll be a free position for both of these guys. But of course, they're going to try to pick up something a little bit more here as we head on to another lap here. Lap 16 at Oulton Park. We're going to be looking at about 44 laps this evening. We saw it in, I believe, in AP. We saw it in EU, and it shouldn't be any different here for North America. Rasco Parody into the pit lane. They're the first of two mandatory stops here this evening. But Tim Brook, after getting, or after maybe letting Parody through, I don't know, but has found some time, is able to carry on his own like nothing happened. We also see Cody Platt with the drive-through here. So that'll get cleared. Of course, when you get a drive-through penalty, even if you stop for a pit stop, it's not going to count because you didn't drive through. You drove and then stopped. So it's an unfortunate thing to happen, but it has to happen. As you see Hunter Page getting around. Free position for him. Up into P22. We do see Marchand in the pits and Briscoe as well. Dornell is still staying out on track. We'll check in with Carpenter. He stays out. Dag stays out. Getting around a back marker there. No, sorry, up ahead is the back marker. So, no jostling for position. Not yet, at least. Not quite certain who that is. If we look at Dag and we look back, well, if I had to bet on it, it is probably not Marquez. That was not the person I wanted to click on. Sanchez, excuse me. Yep, that is Sanchez, down P24 at the moment. So he'll be getting blue flagged, getting out of the way. But yeah, this race, quick start, has settled down quite a bit. Chris Frizza, though, with Hunter Page in tow. Frizza's last lap, a 36.45. Page's was a 34.07. Not really a clear indication of overall pace. We'll actually see it on this lap here. What things are looking like. Man, Frizza just extremely wide, and well, we're not going to get a chance to see the lap pace as Page goes in. But you can see just how well someone has practiced their pit stops. was a very good entry into the pit lane. And Dornelis actually as well into the pit lane. So your race leader goes in. Thomas Dagg sticking out. Same with Austin Carpenter. Michael Landry back on the charge up to the front. So it is just your current leading pair of Carpenter and Dagg that have yet to pit. So things will get moved back around. Fernandez as well. This should be, though, for his stop go 30. Looks like it. I don't think he's getting jacked up on his air jack. So yeah, looks like the stop go 30 for him. Unfortunate, but he's got to serve it. Doesn't have a choice. Here's Andrew Wilson with Brandon Wallet behind for position number 13. Last lap for Wilson, a 34.44 and then a 34.19 for Wallet. So pretty close between the two. Should be seeing them coming to blows, especially with the pace that Wallet has. Able to catch up, but he's got to get around, of course, these two drivers in the new cars in the 1.9 update. And if you haven't bought the DLC yet, probably should, because drivers have been praising these 3 new cars left, right, and center. Haven't had a chance to drive any of them, unfortunately. I've been busy with school, and same with the new track of Valencia, but public servers have been running it a fair bit to give everybody a chance to play them, like when we saw with the America Track Pack DLC that got dropped a few months ago. Servers were keen on letting drivers get as much experience on it as possible. A very defensive line there from Wilson into the chicane. Wallet maybe for a moment thought he could stick it around the outside, but that was not going to happen. And the fight continues for position 14. Wallet's got some pretty excellent pace there under the Lamborghini, trying to force Wilson into a bit of an error, and it looks like he has, as Wilson completely misses his brake point. That opens up the inside for the final corner. They go almost door to door there. And Wallet on the inside as we head down the hill side by side. And it is actually Wilson getting a better exit out of the final corner. There's Wallet gaining some speed, makes some contact. Decides to back out, maybe thinking if he had gone for it, there would have been a number called out and the stewards would have given him a penalty. For him, it's better safe than sorry. And right behind is Andy Meyer. For Bavarian Racing, just sort of keeping an eye on everybody, waiting to see if maybe there's a chance for a move to get done. Here's Chris Frizza still behind Rasco. It seems it's been who knows how many laps that these two have shared together. Couple of tenths, and he's really trying to convert that almost into the back there of the 135. But keeps himself clean. Down the hill we go, through the left-hander and back up again. Over the bumps. It looks like Frizza might have gotten the better of the exit. Is on the racing line. Brasco's got to be careful. He swaps back to the inside as it's a very late break there for Frizza, trying to make it work around the outside, but just can't find the speed he needs. Rasco hanging on by a thread right now for position 19 as we head through the chicane. Bouncing over the curbs. Everything these cars have under the hood to keep it going, and Rasco does. Pulling away slightly compared to his competitor. Thomas Dagg's in the pits for a very interestingly long amount of time. Not sure what that's all about. But he's back out on track, and Rasco still, Brooke and Solomon as well. So a couple of battles forming up. We've got Rob Jacques in the pit lane, possibly to serve that final pit stop. Hunter Page has already done that, so for Page, it's going to be getting to the end on one set of tires. Oulton Park, of course, infamous for chewing up tires here. So it's important to look after them, especially when you get your final pit stop done with more than half an hour to go. Also important to make sure you have enough fuel in the tank. You don't want to run out on track. We've seen it a couple of times, in fact, in seasons past. We saw it last season, a couple of races. No one there to give a push, unfortunately. But that That is absolutely no problem whatsoever. Just checking with Andy Meyer right now. With, I believe that's Wallet behind. It is, and it seems like the German got a bit of a slow exit. But thankfully, it looks like Wallet may have had the same sort of discomfort, and that moves him up. Basically not at all. Eduardo Sanchez and P21. Whoa, completely loses the back end there of his Mercedes. Keeps it together, though. What a save from him. Unfortunately, that does give a position up. But that would have been absolutely catastrophic if he caught anybody else in that. But Frizza more than happy to take a free position from him. Oh, no, sorry, that's Cody Platt, actually, who does grab position 21 from car 21. So he'll be looking to get that back. Jonathan Clifford right now with Hunter Page as a back marker just to get around. Andrew Wilson sort of on his own right now. Not really close to anybody. Oh, no, we've got a huge bit of damage in the back there. That's the 177 of Thomas Dagg. Looks like he had a bit of an off. So as we come up here, oh, he just dips the left side of his car onto the grass. I don't know if you guys caught that, but just those left side tires just caught a little bit of the yard here. And he was extremely lucky in just clipping the tire barrier. If he was over just a little bit more, it would have been a full stop. Probably would have caught someone else in that. And there is a lot of damage on the Ferrari right now. That front end torn to bits. The side's not looking too hot, except for the right side looks pretty good. The back end is a bit scratched up. So he'll be going into the pits, I'm sure, pretty soon to try and, well, stop the bleeding here. And that he is. To the right side he goes into the pit lane. Got to be careful on entry. Don't want to go in too hot, but you want to minimize the amount of time that you actually spend braking. Stops the car, and there it is. So Ferrari troubles seem to transcend racing discipline. But there's still just over half an hour to go. Anything can happen here, of course. Jonathan Clifford in P10 at the moment. Oh, no. Is that Briscoe who was off? No, who was that? That was the 36 of, I just saw it, Quackenbush. What has happened to him? Let's take a look through the chicane. Just clips the inside of one curb. Gets the other one. I don't even know if he hit the wall there. But yeah, just those little bit of elevation changes in the curbs. Unsettling the Ferrari, and, well, again, like I said, doesn't look like he made contact with the wall, so he's able to carry on. Ooh, he's getting a little bit loose there. A little shaken up from that, but not too much of a problem. We join Rasco and Frizza again, the battle for P18. A very slow burn from both of these guys. 37.43 for Rasco, or sorry, 35.43 for Rasco. 35.46. So Frizza on the losing end of that deal. Not by much, but enough. Brandon Wallet in the pit lane as well for his last stop of the evening. Let's check in with Solomon as well, who's had Brooke behind him for the last who knows how many laps. 33.85 for him, and then a 34.8. So has gotten the better. But of course, that could have been a back marker or something, maybe a little bit loose out of the corner. Had to catch a car. But for these two, they've been keeping each other honest, making sure that things are going well. Brian Rasco, Frizza in a very similar situation that he's been in for the last handful of laps, just being close enough for a slipstream, but not being able to really take advantage of that, but gets an amazing turn one. Pulls in right behind Rasco. But it looks like that advantage was short-lived as the gap opens right back up. That Lexus, everything it's got to pull away through the left-hander. And again, a turn you've got to be careful at. You can almost go too wide on the left side, and it looks like the turn wasn't the best for, well, either driver. Rasco, I think, outbraked himself, and Frizza maybe got a little bit overzealous and had to just maybe catch himself. Oh, and just catches the inside. Frizza almost losing it there. In all that time that he was spending behind, just thrown away in a couple of corners. So that gap opens back up to about 8/10. But the top of your timing sheet has been reshuffled. Landry back in the lead. Dornelis 8.3 seconds back, but with fastest lap, still at 32.75. But yeah, Dornelis, driver, just doing his own thing, getting around some back markers right now. Landry in a, well, completely different country, it seems like. I mean, as he is in Canada, and we're here in North America, at least I am. Or in the U.S., goodness. Yeah, things really have settled down. Jonathan Clifford still with Hunter Page behind. Just being kept company. No battle, of course, for position, but the front end. You can see the front end of the Lambo just sort of bumped up a little bit. And Marchand goes into the pit lane as well. We have Wallet clearing his last pit stop. Same with Dag. Marchand will join that party. Brandon Wallet with Nunez as they go side by side here. Nunez gets the best of them and pulls out ahead. Oh no, that wasn't Nunez. I'm sorry. That was the... Which Porsche is that? I believe that was... might have been Flomger. Yeah, that was Flomger. I thought that was a move there from Nunez. I was going to be impressed. But no, it's just some blue flagging. No big deal. It's kind of hard to tell with the broadcast controller I have. It tells me the gap to the car behind. It doesn't tell me if they're blue flagged or not. Maybe it'll be in an update, Glenn. It would be nice to see. But for right now, we'll just have to guess. But yeah, things really have settled down quite a lot. Marchand's out of the pit finally. So that'll be his pit stop done and dusted. Surprisingly, Quackenbush not going into the pit lane. He's got 23 minutes to get 2 pit stops in, and he hasn't. Of course, pit stops are only cleared with tire changes. So if you go in to grab fuel and maybe some repairs, it's not going to clear one of your pit stops away. That rubber has to come off the car. And fresh set has to get put on. That's what Flomger's... Oh no, Flomger has a drive-through. It's going to be for track limits. Nunez in the pits, though. This should be for a pit stop. It is. He's pulling into his box. Quackenbush a long ways down in the pack. So he might just be running and saying, you know what, I'm 4 laps down, but it doesn't matter. I'll just do the race. He'll cop a penalty, but it's not really going to do anything. He's already in last, so yeah, it's not really going to matter. He'll just get some laps, get some points, and we'll get ready for next week. Well, we've got a little bit of grass mowing there behind. Didn't quite see who that was from one of the BMWs. I believe it was not Brooke. Brooke actually going to be dealing with Flomger very, very soon as we head through the first chicane. Flomger, really good exit there, or entry rather, but that does compromise his exit a bit because Brooke didn't get the best entry into the chicane. And then into the second one, of course, we go. Flomger, everything he can, every bit of experience he has, does get a little bit eager on the throttle, almost loses the tail end of the Porsche. Saves it. And for Brooke, a little bit of breathing room, but can't keep his guard down for very long. Flomger, one of the most dangerous drivers, not in the sense that he'll bump you out of the way, but in the sense of any little advantage you give him, he'll just completely blow out of proportion and get around you. And as I say that, again, just ambitious early on the throttle. Starts losing more time, so we'll check back in with these two later on in the broadcast. Rasco, Frizza, both of them going to be having to let Landry through. That's a very sketchy place to let someone through. But Frizza able to manage very, very well, of course. And that means Rasco will be getting blue flagged here very shortly. Actually, right there. Wilson's in the pits. Andy Meyer's in the pits, so that'll clear their stops. Quackenbush still with 2, but like I said, it's not really going to matter. Landry, there he is around the back markers. So he's got more clean air to work with. Let's actually take a look at the track map, and you can see the number 15 up ahead. That is going to be Marchand. And there's a pretty sizable gap to him, so he shouldn't be getting blue flagged anytime soon, really. Brian Rasco and Chris Frizza still just waiting for the most opportune moment to strike. Maybe going with the pit strategy. Maybe Rasco's going to play chicken a bit with Frizza. See if he goes into the pit lane first. Frizza does go over the bumps, goes sideways, and keeps it off the wall. Frizza, all that work, and it's gone in an instant. We're going to take a look at that one again from Helicam. And he just gets on the inside of that corner a little bit too much. Drifts it over, and like I said, does not make contact with the wall. A couple of drivers get through. Andy Meyer is one of them, and I believe Andrew Wilson. Andy Meyer, or Chris Frizza, in the Aether right now. Here's Michael Formato into the pit lane for his final stop of the evening. So we'll see where he comes out. Frizza, Marquez, Parity. Drivers who still have to clear stops. Same with everybody from 1st down to 11th, and then it'll be 13th through 16th, because there's Formato there in 12th, who's breaking that orange line. Bootsy, welcome in. Current fastest lap belongs to this man right here, Renato Dornelis, one of, if not the best driver here in North America, 32.75 around Oulton Park here. 29 laps. We'll see if maybe there's some a shift as we get onto a fresh set of tires soon, but nobody's really challenged him. The only person in the 32s is your current race leader, Landry, with a 32.96, but that's still 2/10 off. So yeah, Mans is flying, but it is Audi who's up top right now of the timing sheets. Timothy Flomger into the pit lane. Ooh, that looked a little bit sketchy. I don't know if he was slowed down enough. We'll see what the game says. Sanchez is in the pit lanes for the final time, hopefully, this evening. Got to be careful of what I say. I know the powers I have and what I can do. If only one of my co-commentators from Europe would remember that. Charles. And I guess Simon, too, somewhat. But it has been a pretty quiet race here. Kevin Parity with Wallet behind. This is a battle for position, but of course Parity has another pit stop to clear before the race is over. Still has just a bit of time. How much time? Oh, look at that. Just about 17:38. There you go. Might be a bit after Parity's time. But anyways, Wallet right now looking to pick up an extra position here at the end. Both of these guys in the new cars. Parity misses the corner, misses both apexes. The first one is Own doing. The second one, he thought Wallet was a little bit closer. Had to give up some space as we head into the final corner. Door to door for both of them as we head on through, and Wallet pulls ahead. Gets the job done and is going to start peeling away here. Parity could do nothing but watch as the inevitable came his way. A slick little move there from one Canadian onto the other. Marquez is in the pit lane. Dave Hasser in the pit lane for the last time. Quackenbush still out. Like I said, 4 laps down. He had that huge amount of damage earlier. Sat in the pits for a very long time. So it doesn't really matter. He could go in one lap, go in the next. He's still going to be last. He's on lap 27. Next drivers up are on lap 28. That's Marchand all the way up to Frizza. Those should be turning over soon. and they'll actually be on lap 29. So yeah, for Quackenbush, it's been just a terrible start to his sprint season. But of course, always next week. We have lost a few drivers this evening over the course of the race. Would also apologize for fan noises. GPU has been whirring up all day, especially with EU. Might just, dump some water on it, because that's what you do. Jonathan Clifford clears his final stop. Whoa, I thought he was getting a little bit loose there. Out of the pit lane, does manage to get ahead of, I believe that's Sanchez. No, it's not Sanchez. It's the other Mercedes. It is Marchand, so doesn't even have to worry about getting blue flag. Just lets him through. Oh, and there's Landry into the pit lane, so he'll be clearing his final stop, and I believe that's Parody. Yep. Dornelis stays out. Keogh stays out. Solomon stays out. Brook as well. Portis. Thompson. Briscoe, does he stay out on track? Yes, he does. Austin Carpenter in P9 decides that he's not ready to come into the pit lane just yet. Wilson Fernandez a long way back, so we'll check and see if he decides to get his final set of tires on. 20 minutes to go here at Oulton Park for the first round of Season 13 of the Simrigs Sprint Series. Next week, as I said earlier, we'll be at Watkins Glen as Fernandez goes into the pit lane. I don't know who that was behind him, but they got a little bit loose there out of the corner. It's actually Javier Marquez. So that might have been pretty well timed for him to pick up that drive-through, and I don't think it should do too much damage. As I say, that Frizza moves on through. But yeah, this race really settled down after the start. Had some close calls, but nothing too egregious. Here's Brian Rasco, P13, and he's going to get that final stop clear. That's what I was about to speculate. So that just leaves, besides Quackenbush, of course, I think it's important to mention, Dornelis into the pit lane. So it's Keogh, Solomon, Brook, Portis, Thompson, Briscoe, and Carpenter, who have yet to pit. Keogh decides now's the time to go. Solomon stays out. Brook as well is ready to get that final set on. Same with Portis. Thompson does not. Marches to the beat of his own drum. Briscoe as well. And then we'll see Carpenter does stay out. So pit lane a little active right now of those four plus Rasco. So that'll shake things up a little bit. Ooh, next race is in your hometown, Bootsy. Well, great job on making Watkins Glen. Definitely one of my favorite tracks of all time. Top 3. So, good job on that one. Dave Hasser, though, picks up a drive-through penalty for track limits. So, that's going to be a bit of an annoyance for him. Some drivers have wondered if taking the time penalty is more worth than actually taking the drive-through. It takes about 17 seconds to get through the pit lane, but I'd say at this point just do it, just get it done. You don't have to worry about it. But your top 4, the only drivers who have not pitted yet, and this will move things back around. That should put Landry back into first position, Dornelis back into second, and Keogh back into third, unless these drivers somehow find a good chunk of time and are able to, well, maybe gain an extra position. Solomon to the right side. That's the final pit stop for him. We'll check in with Braden Thompson, the 2 Lamborghini drivers up front, and we'll see if they mirror each other. Keith Briscoe as well coming on through the final corner. You see, yep, there it is. There's Thompson into the pit lanes. Briscoe as well passes it up. Austin Carpenter, he's going to go into the pit lanes for the final time. See him take this pit entry. Job well done from him. Landry will not be promoted back into the lead, but will be in P number 2 because Briscoe decided to stay out, and Sanchez picks up a drive-through penalty. Hasser serving his drive-through penalty. Sanchez as well serving his drive-through penalty. So both of these guys at the same time. This could be maybe a battle for position. Oh, hold on. This is going to be very interesting. Both of these guys come out, and it's actually going to be Solomon who gets the better of the Mercedes and out into a lot of traffic. Oh, no, 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 you can't. What in the world? Sanchez, that was very, very scary, is down in P22, leaves the blinker on. One of the only times you'll see a guy in a German car actually using their blinker. Shoutouts to the Mercedes drivers for that one. Brian Rasco has quite the entourage behind him, and I guess you could give Chris Frizza that as well, because, well, you've got Salomon and Keogh who are going to be battling for position, having to get through this traffic. Keith Briscoe has to pit, the last of the drivers to do it, and there it is. Briscoe will hand the lead back to Marc-Antoine Landry, excuse me. And Dornelis will get promoted up. So this is where we're really going to be keeping a lot of our attention. You do see Ben Keogh behind Solomon, and with the car ahead, this is going to be some backmarker action. The flash is coming out there from Ben Keogh. As Solomon on the inside there of Frizza, who is going to give way, letting him through. Same with Keogh, just going to dive on through. That also invites Sanchez into the mix as these two go side by side. Up and over across the line. It's the Mercedes with the better drive there, and with the inside corner could get this move done. And that he does. So for Sanchez, does get around Frizza. Car 21 back in position 21. Good news for him, bad news for Frizza. Still 14.5 minutes to go here in this contest at Oulton Park. And with everybody pitting... Oh, Quackenbush has pitted. He got one stop. This could be the second stop out of the way. Perhaps he's been listening to me and decides to make it an all-green line, top to bottom. Shout-outs to him. Good job. I know this first race has been a bit tough, but, well, there's still 6 more to go here. As Brian Rasco has some Sanchez on his left side as we head into the second chicane. Around the outside, the Mercedes goes, has to cut the grass there. That's going to bring Frizza back in, and the position immediately usurped. And Parity makes contact and spins himself out. That was not what he wanted. He had the run because of the excursion from the Mexican driver, but he just completely bottled himself. And he's sitting position 24, and he's got to let all these cars through. A lot of blue flagging to be done, and that's just a kick in the gut. And there goes another blue flag, and Parity on for a position gain. Now, back in no man's land. Nunez somewhere in the thick of all of this is actually behind, could be gaining, and Marchand as well. Quackenbush still has one final pit stop to go. So it looks like we caught his first of 2 pit stops. There's Solomon. Oh, Keogh is so close right now. I think this is the closest he's been to Solomon all race. As we head into the banked right-hander. A couple of different ways you can take that. You can saw a little bit of variance between them. Not much. But each driver with what they're more comfortable with. Through the first chicane. Done pretty well by both of them. They still have another chicane to work with. As we head down on the brakes, rifling down the gears before getting back out and right back up. Bit of a lift here through the right-hander as we go up the hill. We'll crest over it, sort of level out. A little bit of a dip here and there. Again, you see the bumpiness of the circuit. And it looks like Solomon, I don't know if he got it as well, but it seems to have recovered quite nicely on exit. Keogh wasn't able to close that gap into the final corner. And you can see the advantage the Lamborghini has over the Aston Martin out of a corner like that. It almost sounded like the Aston was struggling for power. Keogh completely messes up turn number 1, and Solomon makes out like a bandit in the night. A little bit of pressure alleviated, which is great for him, exactly what he was looking for. Chris Frizza still in P21. With a, well, he's got Rasco in front. He's got Sanchez, who spins it out, does a full 360, and gets it pointed back in the right direction. Sanchez, I know that's not what you wanted, but take a bow. That was sick. I loved that. I want to, we can take a look at that, can't we? Ah, we're a little too far back. But you saw he just dipped the right rear wheel onto the grass, spun it around, kept it off the walls, kept it out of the other drivers, and well, there you go. Some style points. We don't really give those out in the season, but I certainly do. So Sanchez taking the lead in the freestyle competition while it picks up a drive-through penalty. Not certain which corner that was for, but he's got to get that served in the next couple of laps. I don't know if he'll drop all too much. He's got actually a pretty sizable gap down to Page, so this shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, there's Page almost 20 seconds back, so Wallet could go for it right now and come out with 3, maybe 4 seconds of extra time to play with in the final 10 minutes of this race. Of course, pit window closing in 5. So for one driver, that's going to be just a bit of a reminder. Hopefully we see him come in. He's about a third of the way through the lap, so we'll see if he's coming in anytime soon. But yeah, for Wallet, can come in right now, serve the drive-through, and we'll be fine on exit. Absolutely no problem. I'm sure he knows what the gap is, and there he goes in the pit lane, so that will not hurt him at all. As long as he, you know, gets slowed down enough and is able to get the limiter on. Hunter Page right now is just coming up to the final corner. So yeah, for Wallet, right at the end of the pit lane, pit limiter's off, drive-thru's cleared, back out on track he goes. Unless he somehow managed to pick up a stop-go, but I doubt it. And there it is. Done and dusted. Wilson Fernandez giving us a little bit of action here, side by side with Michael Formato as we head through the right-hander into the first chicane. The move, as quickly as it materialized, the bow was put on it and put away. Job well done. Great move there for the 888. Up into P14. Going off of last season, kind of surprising, to be completely honest. He was usually up in that top 10 fairly regularly, but right now he's actually having a little bit of trouble. We got a yellow flag out on track. Not certain who that was for, but it's, well, whisked away immediately. So it's still Landry in the lead. We'll check with Dornelis. Has beaten his personal best again, so a 32.64, 11 hundredths has been taken off the top. So Dornelis is going to pick up 3 extra points here this evening for his efforts. Not uncommon to see him with such a lap time over the competition. Landry still has not improved on his personal best. Still a 32.96 for him. But even with Dornelis being as far behind as he is, just incredibly consistent, incredibly steady driver. Surprisingly, has a 0.6 advantage over the last lap. We'll see what Landry does, who does a 33.27. 32.81 for Dornelis. Hold on. Things might not be over. There's 7.5 minutes to go, and Dornelis has just been chipping away little by little at this lead that Landry has built up over the course of 39, soon to be 40 laps. But it's I don't know, we could be seeing them come to blows. If this gap stays the way it is, if he's still taking, you know, 4 to 6 tenths off of the competition, the gap right now, 2.7 seconds. So it could be coming down, but we'll see what the true pace is as we head over into Sector 3. It may have grown, it may have shrunk. Not certain quite yet. Here we go. Let's see what the gap looks like. 2.8, so about a tenth. thrown into the mix. But Dornelis, a man not easily shaken, as if every single season is anything to go off of. So I think this is, oh, hold on, wait, Portis. Portis has Flomger extremely close. I just had to take a moment just to listen to that Porsche. Just, it sounds so good. An amazing sound there, but of course the Honda. Pretty nice, lower, a little bit of a more bassy tone to it, but still a very solid sounding engine nonetheless. Flomger's last lap, a 33.82 compared to the 34.06 from Portis, so this is actually a bit of a jostle for position. In Quackenbush does get the final pit stop done just in time. Good job from him. So he will not be picking up a penalty for not getting his pit stops cleared. Again, a rough start to your sprint debut, but hey, we all gotta have something like that happen at some point. Whoa, Flomger, a little bit of drifting there in the Porsche, but it hasn't seemed to have lost him much time at all. He's taken 4/10 out of Portis. Compared to that last lap, the pit window closes up, so no more mandatory stops to be cleared. Quackenbush should be fine. I'd be surprised if he picked up a penalty, to be completely honest. For Landry, that gap's come down a couple of tenths. Oh, over the course of a lap. So I think we have 4 laps to go here, based off of the calculations. And by that, I mean the EU race I did about 5 or so hours ago. Or actually, no. It's about 8. I can count. But yeah, Landry not out of the woods yet. He can probably see the Lamborghini out of his rear view mirror. It's not really something he wants to look at, if I'm being completely honest. Let's look at Andrew Wilson with Andy Meyer. So we got some battles here right at the end. I mean, I'm not complaining. That's always a fun sight to behold. As we head on through the chicanes. Andy Meyer doesn't get the best exit, though. So we check back in with Flomger, who's lost a huge chunk of time, actually. I'm not certain what happened. That gives Braden Thompson a chance to possibly sneak a position in here right at the end on the lap 41 for these drivers. So we head across. It's Portis up ahead with Flomger and Thompson trailing. We can actually look a little bit lower in the pack. Brian Rasco with Eduardo Sanchez on the inside as we head through the left-hander. How is this one going to play out? There's a bit of contact there, and both of them go, whoa, that was extremely close there. I think that was Marquez that just slipped on through. It was. We have to see this from Marquez's point of view. You'll be riding on board, so there's the contact there between them, and then Marquez just dives to the inside. Amazing heads-up racing from him. The Colombian just gets lucky. Houdini's his way by, and, well, for the other two, for the Lexus of Rasco and the Mercedes of Sanchez, it has been the least, just the worst possible outcome, let's be honest there. Thankfully, nobody else gets picked up in any of that. So that's good news for them. Flomger is on the grass. Same with the Lexus behind. And, well, Braden Thompson has to get some blue flags moved around. Kenneth Portis, despite everything, has not pulled away. And this should be the Lexus of Rasco letting Thompson on through. And it seems like they have. Yep, that's been resolved. 2 minutes to go here. Landry has gotten around Wallet. And behind that is Renato Dornelis. Dornelis maybe was hoping that the other Lamborghini might have held up your race leader, but that hasn't been the case. The gap just under 2 seconds, but you almost wonder, is it too little, too late? As we head on towards the final corner, this is going to be the final lap. Drivers running about 133s right now. So for Landry, one more time here around Oulton Park if he wants to hold on to the top step. Dornelis gets around Wallet. And there's the call out, the final lap for Landry one more time. Same with Portis. All drivers have gotten the call out, so they should know that the next time they cross the line, that'll be the final attempt to get any move done. Rasco letting some back markers, or not back markers, letting some blue flags through. As it's not Javier Marquez, he's a little bit up the road. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Andrew Wilson has gone around Andy Meyer, so we didn't see that one on camera, unfortunately. But that is position number 12 for the 91 Ferrari. Kenneth Portis, this gap has just closed up a little bit. The lap time's a 10th in Flomger's favor. And again, it's the final time around the circuit. Oh no, look at how close Dornelis is. He's less than a second. It's like he can sense the blood in the water right now. But the gap is just not big enough. He's going to have to bank on Landry completely bottling it into the penultimate corner, maybe even the final corner here. As we head into the dip, we go over the rise, and then the dip and the rise again into the final corner. But it looks like Michael Landry is going to hold on, and he's going to draw first blood here in Season 13 of the Sprint Series. He had a huge gap at the start. It came down. You almost wonder if there was an extra lap. Would Dornelis have won it all? But he doesn't. He has to settle for second best, but does pick up fastest lap with that 32.64. Incredible stuff from him. And Simon Salomon from Poland will be picking up the final step on the podium. 3 different nationalities there in the top 3, Canadian, Brazilian, and Polish. And the first American driver will be Ben Keogh in your top 5. And Tim Brook from the UK makes it 5 different nationalities in the top 5. Incredible stuff. And then behind, Kenneth Portis, still with Flomger, but everything Flomger's thrown at him was not enough to falter the Honda. 6th place for him, 7th for Flomger. There's Thompson in the background, who makes it 8th. For Keith Briscoe, it's a nice number 9. And for Jonathan Clifford, picking up the final position in the top 10. Beats Carpenter to the line by just about a quarter of a second. Andrew Wilson ahead of Andy Meyer on the last lap. Makes it 12 and 13. There's Wilson Fernandez in 14th. Formato in 15th. And then Wallet, Page, Dag, Hasser, Marquez, Frizza, Rasco, Sanchez, Parody. That's 16 through 24. And then Nunez, your last driver, to make it across. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the race here at Oulton Park. And what a race it was. So let's hop on into the garage, look to the timing sheets, and, well, we'll take a look at everything. So it's Michael Landry ahead of Dornelis by just about a second there. Solomon rounds out your top 3. 2 of the new cars making it onto the podium. The Huracan GT3 Evo 2 besting the new Ferrari. Maybe a sign of things to come? Who knows? In the Pro-Am category, it's Wilson, Formato, and Page, your top 3. Majid and Kaiser, the 2 drivers who dropped out in that category. And overall, we had Jacques, Rogers, Habe, and Pierce. Pierce with that disqualification, I'm still curious as to how that happened. And then the amateur class, it's Quackenbush ahead of Jacques. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here tonight. Oulton Park in the books, which means next week we head to New York for the race at Watkins Glen, and I'm very, very excited for that one, of course. I'm ready to see what these drivers can produce. It's going to be 80 minutes with no stops, so who knows what the strategies are going to look like for all of these drivers. But one final quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 13 of the Sprint Series out of Melbourne, Australia. Servicing all of course, Australia and New Zealand. This sim racing supplier has got everything you need to up your game, get some faster lap times, wheels, sets, stands, pedals, gloves, shifters. If it belongs in a sim racer, it probably is in their stores. And if you're like me and you live outside of that, you can send them an email. They'll be more than happy to do some business with you. And our Patreon members, you guys get 5% off your in-store purchases. Highly suggest you take advantage of that. Sim racing equipment not cheap by any means, but ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us tonight. Great little race here. Action in the beginning and a very mellowed middle section, and we got a lot of action right towards the end. That's how we like it. Paige saying that the force feedback wasn't working the first stint. Trying to forget it. Tried to add fuel the first stop. Well, you made it to the end. You didn't run out of fuel on track. But a week stands between us and the next race. But ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, I'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. And as always, until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful. We'll see you in New York.